Welcome to a Dynamo Spotlight on Feedback Solutions. Today, Kristin Barbato, co-founder and president of Dynamo Energy Hub, speaks with David Whalley, president and CEO of Feedback Solutions, a leader in building and HVAC efficiency and a Dynamo member.
Very professional doing this.
I know, right? Isn't that cool?
This is new for me, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is great. So, David, thank you so much for joining us today on Dynamo Spotlight on Feedback Solutions. So, as we all know, you are the president and CEO of Feedback Solutions, coming from a storied career in commercial real estate and having been in charge of a lot of properties and projects over at Colliers for a while. So, bringing that experience to a solution that is widely needed in the market. We're going to ask you a few questions today on Dynamo Spotlight On, so we can get to know you and get to know Feedback Solutions a little bit. So it's kind of a rapid fire 5-question format, and we can banter a little bit as you like. So why don't we start getting right into it?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to see you again. Anyway, first question is, why don't you tell us who Feedback Solutions is? What do you do?
So feedback is a vital part of the toolkit for decarbonizing buildings. Our solution leverages best-in-class people counting and indoor air quality, or IAQ sensors, to allow heating, ventilation, air conditioning, HVAC systems to be optimized in real time. So our customers see immediate reduction in energy spend. They see reduced GHG emissions without the need for deep retrofit, and they get an incredibly rich data space on space utilization.
Yeah, and it's definitely an industry that has, for a while, been looking at building energy efficiency, and it's getting even more prominence as we're looking to. Cities are starting to get involved in having more local laws. In fact, in New York City, 70%, up to 70% of the GHG emissions in New York City come from building stock. It's usually the other way around with transportation, but buildings are at least anywhere from 30 to 70%, especially in your urban environments. So this is a real issue.
That's actually, Kristin, that's one of the stats that we use. It's, if globally it's 28-30% of GHG emissions are from operations of buildings, not the embedded carbon, just the operations of buildings. You're right. In states like New York, cities like New York City, it's exacerbated. It's at 60-70%. So it's a huge issue. Yeah.
So with that, how is Feedback Solutions making a difference in this part of the market? So effectively, what is your role and how are you unique?
So the role we play, it's really three things that are important for the energy transition. Owners and occupiers, as you mentioned, call it office buildings, university facilities, for example, they have in many cases specific GHG reduction targets. So
Right.
Whether of their own volition, their own ESG objectives, or in response to, as you said, Local Law 97, we can help these groups reduce their GHG emissions right away, and sometimes offsetting a very large percentage of the penalties they might otherwise face in 2025 or 2026, depending where you are. And at the same time, as your listeners will know very, very well, there are tremendous challenges for grid operators. We're able to significantly reduce demand, particularly during what might be considered peak load periods during the cooling season. And the granularity of the data we provide to the HVAC systems allows a really quick ramp down of the fans, chillers, et cetera, as the occupant levels change, especially later in the afternoon. So we can play a key role in that demand response piece of it. The third thing, really, this is super important to a lot of our customers, is the data. There's been a big push on the space utilization front, but there's still a tremendous amount of work to do. Many buildings are being run for extended hours with no hard data on what the actual demand is. A good example, our first installation with NYU. So before we even optimize HVAC, before we touch the control strategy, the energy team was able to convince faculty to reduce the operating hours by 2 hours over the weekend. So that's the best energy efficiency you can get, turn stuff off. And faculty didn't push it back because they had the hard data. So the data spoke for itself. And in terms of what makes us unique, I think it's the notion that there are many paths or entry points that allow our end users, their existing suppliers, to get value from our platform. Give you an example. So with NYU, in the first few buildings, ours was a standalone ECM, or energy conservation measure, and so the HVAC equipment, the BMS, everything was really in place where we could add our granular data set, replace the existing CO2 based DCV, and they got immediate savings. So very, very straightforward. In other cases, however, they'll have trusted advisors. They might have consultants or engineering consultants that are helping them with multiple ECM strategies. So again, if they're going to spend money on a deep retrofit, new BMS, new controls, let's say, well, our data set can help them optimize the performance of the equipment once they do that. And also, too, we help in the mix in the sense that if you're doing large CapEx items with a very long payback period, ours with the 2 or 3 year payback period really brings the financial metrics into a model that makes more sense for the end user.
Yeah. So I would say it sounds to me like one of the aspects that makes you very unique in this market is that you're providing real time management of the HVAC systems with real-time occupancy intelligence. So you've actually got sensors that are translating how the building is occupied and being used into real-time changes for the HVAC systems. And that's something that I think is different than some other solutions that exist on the market today. It's that real-time change.
Agree. So sometimes people are predicting, they're trying to change schedules. There's still a manual intervention. So to your point, if you can get a response in real time, that's part of the control strategy. Meaning, once the script is written, it's seamless in the background. That's where the savings opportunity comes. So, notwithstanding the fact that, call it Tuesdays and Wednesdays in New York or Chicago, the offices are very, very busy. It's still not 100% occupancy all day. So, later in the afternoon, when people start to leave the office, you're getting an automatic response. So that's exactly the point. That it's a real time, sort of seamless change in the HVAC control strategy. That there's no manual intervention required.
Yeah. So what kinds of macro trends are you seeing in the market today that are impacting feedback solutions and those that are your clients?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, macroeconomic uncertainty is one.
Mhm.
There's some nervousness in terms of capital expenditures for many groups that we speak to.
Sure.
That should ultimately work in our favor. Again, that's because we're a low CapEx solution with a very quick payback that allows customers to keep momentum on their decarbonization efforts. So the deep retrofit may get deferred, but hopefully a solution like ours that gets some immediate savings gets picked up. Hybrid back to work, the post-COVID, that's certainly creating challenges for owners of office assets. As you mentioned, I've spent 25 years in commercial real estate. So I don't have anybody right now that's trying to forecast budgets or project what their 5-year lease profile will be in this environment. So with commercial office, it means a really important vertical for us. But we're actually getting growing traction from the occupant side of the equation. So large tenants with long-term lease commitments that want to reduce their HVAC spend, and they want the utilization data that comes along with it, sometimes down to the desk level. And so the operating cost reduction accrues to the tenant. The owner of the building will benefit from the GHG reduction.
Right.
So I would say, in two last ones, a favorable trend is a progressive stance being taken by utility companies. More and more progressive programs, Con Edison, as you know, National Grid, Southern California Edison, sometimes they're offsetting upwards of 50% of the project costs for our solution. That's a tremendous tailwind for us. And as you know, the inflation and energy costs, that creates a sense of urgency for the end user. Some of our clients in Southern California, their utility rates have doubled. So
Have they?
Even before incentives, they're very, very motivated.
Yeah, it's always been an expensive market, but I think it's not getting any easier.
Yeah.
So I know that you're working on you mentioned NYU, you've got some really big projects and installations. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the big things that are on the horizon for you over the course of the next year or two?
Yeah, well, so even just to finish this year, and end of this year, Q1 of next. So we're really excited. We've got a pilot with I mentioned the occupier side. So we've got a 900,000 square foot office tenant in Manhattan. We already know the energy savings are going to be tremendous, and the profile of the customer, the profile of the owner of the building, that's really going to help us get the word out. Not sure if you saw the social media post today, but we made it into EPRI's 2023 Incubate Energy Lab cohort. So that's EPRI
Congratulations. That's terrific.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a lot of work. It has been a lot of work. It remains the same, but EPRI represents 90% of the electricity generated in the U.S. So including Con Edison, NYPA, Fortis, Southern California Edison. So we're one of 16 companies. We're going to be able to showcase to the entire membership the results of our project at NYU School of Dentistry. So that's a project we started way back when with NYSERDA. This current phase will measure and verify in a very robust fashion with Introbot engineers. So it's heavily measured and verified savings relative to the kilowatt hour reduction and thermal savings versus what the status quo was, which was design criteria was a CO2 based demand control ventilation strategy. So that's very, very key for us. We're very, very excited about that.
That's great. Yeah. And so you've got big projects, and I'm looking forward to hearing about some more successes over the course of this big rollout that you've got going on with an almost million square foot client just right in New York City. That's enormous, literally enormous.
We can't move on without mentioning the IDEA program. I think you know that acronym, right?
Near and dear to my heart. Yeah. Don't ask me what the acronym stands for. I can't remember, but the New York City IDEA program, Innovative Demonstrations in Energy something.
Yes, close. I mean,
close,
exactly.
Very close.
So we love our acronyms, right? So it's NYC DCAS, which is Department of Citywide Administration Services. So the IDEA program, similar to NYSERDA's Next Gen HVAC program, right. It's the whole idea is bypass procurement and get pilots, get demonstrations with new technologies, so that the city can vet it. If they feel it's good, it's effective, it's scalable, then they put their full weight and support behind it, because they've got thousands of facilities.
That's the idea. Really, that's exactly what we wanted to do with it.
Right. Yeah, and we're so keen, because we've got our test site is the NYPD Police Academy in Queens. So
fantastic! 700,000, huge building,
beautiful building,
huge.
Yeah, 700,000 feet, LEED certified, and we already know we're gonna absolutely. It's going to be great results.
And such a unique use case too. It's not like a typical school or a typical hospital. Like, this is a really interesting operations that go on inside that building. So that should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. You're being too modest. You started IDEA program. I was hoping I could get you to say that.
It's been around for 10 years now. Well, after I was gone from the city, but yeah, that was fun.
Yes.
That was a great one.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for bringing that up. Oh, fond memories. So as we're moving from big things that you see in the near future, and we have some big things happening with Dynamo. We've got our big Climate Week event coming up in September, our launch for a new hub in London in October. And then, of course, we can't wait to launch this as well as some other spotlights that we have for other members coming up as well. With that, I just wanted to finalize, like, our last question to wrap up this quick little interview with you is ask you, why Dynamo? What are you seeing in Dynamo's community, or some of the things that we can do?
So there was actually a couple of people mentioned Dynamo to us. I think there was a trade commissioner, the Canadian consulate. There was one of your former colleagues at Bill Edison. And what we were looking for, and this is exactly what we've found here, is that it's a relevant networking community, right? For clean tech companies, it's an ecosystem. New York City is a big city, but it's a small community when you think of the people that are really focused on climate tech and scaling solutions. We love the thought leader aspect. It's needed at this point in time, right? We do need to support each other. There's big problems. None of the companies the startups can do it all on their own. And New York's obviously been a very, very key market. So having a landing spot with Dynamo at the studio facility, brilliant. It's worked out very, very well because we spent a lot of time
nice
there.
offices there too, isn't it? I really like that
Beautiful.
one. Yeah.
It's worked out really well for the entire team, for our clients, for our advisors. And this is for us, this is a global solution. The fact that you just mentioned London, we're doing work in Germany right now. We've got demands to be on the road, to have a community that we can plug into, like Dynamo, and have touchdown space. It's extremely important. It's very valuable to us.
Stay tuned for Germany. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. So
More
I think
announcements next year.
Excellent. Yeah, I think the projects we're doing are starting in Munich. So
that's true. Oh, terrific. Yes, Munich is fantastic. In fact, that's where we're considering for our next hub space in Europe. So that should be exciting. Among
great.
others. But yeah, that's exactly, well, thank you. That's exactly why we wanted to create Dynamo, and it's these kinds of connections and making sure that we're getting a voice for people who are making a difference in the industry. And that's exactly what you're doing. And you and your whole team, hi Karen over there, and the rest of the crew.
So eavesdropping to make sure I didn't screw up too much.
Excellent. We love that.
Yeah.
But this has been a fantastic experience, just getting to know your team and the solutions you have and seeing your growth. So keep in touch. We'll see you at more events, and stay tuned with some more success stories. We actually love recording some of these success stories of our members connecting with one another or being able to collaborate on deals together. So fantastic. Well, thank you again, David. And it was so nice to talk with you today in this brief little discussion and interview to hear more about Feedback Solutions. And we hope to see you again soon, next month.
And thank you, Kristin. Appreciate the continued support.
Of course. Well, take care.
Sure. Take care. See you. Bye-bye.
This has been a Dynamo Spotlight on Feedback Solutions. For more information on Dynamo and to see our latest work, please visit dynamoenergyhub.com. See you next time.